Imagine this. You're standing in a magnificent museum, captivated by the mysterious smile of the Mona Lisa, or gazing up at the Sistine Chapel's ceiling, feeling the raw human power of Michelangelo's creation of Adam. Or maybe, just maybe, you're reading the revolutionary words of Copernicus, words that told us the universe doesn't revolve around us, that we're just a tiny planet among billions.
These aren't just works of art or science, they're earthquakes. Sparks of bold, radical thinking that ignited a fire through centuries of darkness, reshaping everything we know about civilization. But here's the real question. How did this cultural rebirth transform Europe forever? And even more importantly, how did it lay the groundwork for centuries of global dominance? And the complex challenges we still face today, from political division to the ever-present threat of conflict. To truly grasp the Renaissance, you need to understand the nightmare that came before it. For nearly 1,000 years after the Roman Empire fell, Europe was a mess. Picture a world where survival was a daily grind, kingdoms were fractured, and endless wars were just another Tuesday. They don't call it the Dark Ages for nothing. By the mid-14th century, the Black Death swept through, wiping out up to half of Europe's population. It didn't just kill people, it shattered society. Faith was tested, trust eroded, and the foundations of order crumbled. This was an era when the church held absolute power. It controlled everything: politics, culture, even the life of the mind. Knowledge was a guarded secret, locked away in monasteries and wielded by a chosen few. Free thought? Not a chance. Just ask Galileo or Copernicus, who, centuries later, were still silenced for daring to look at the stars and see something different. For centuries, Europe's progress was frozen, trapped by fear and dogma, but then something started to thaw. The Renaissance ignited in Italy. Cities like Florence and Rome became furnaces, fueled by a perfect storm. Immense wealth from trade, the physical ruins of ancient Rome all around, and the patronage of powerful families like the Medici. They didn't just want art, they wanted glory. This wasn't a fluke, it was a deliberate rebirth. People rediscovered the long-forgotten knowledge of ancient Greece and Rome, and it was like a shot of adrenaline for a weary civilization. At the heart of it was a bold, radical idea: humanism. This was a game changer. The old view put God at the center. The new view put humans at the center. Instead of asking, "How do I please God?" thinkers started asking, "What can I achieve as a human?" This new ideal celebrated individual creativity, curiosity, and the boundless potential of the human mind. Artists, thinkers, explorers, they weren't just nameless servants of God or king anymore. They were heroes in their own right, forging their own paths and leaving legacies that were uniquely theirs. The Renaissance wasn't just a rebirth of art, it was a rebirth of the human spirit itself. This new way of thinking didn't stay in one city. It swept across the continent and changed everything. In art and literature, we saw the birth of perspective and anatomical precision in the works of Da Vinci and Michelangelo. In England, William Shakespeare didn't just write plays, he crafted stories about the deepest parts of the human soul, creating characters that still resonate today. In philosophy and politics, thinkers like Erasmus challenged the established order, while Niccolò Machiavelli wrote The Prince, a book that ruthlessly separated power from morality, an idea that would shape leaders for centuries. In exploration, a new sense of curiosity and hunger for glory fueled voyages across the globe. Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Magellan weren't just looking for new trade routes. They were driven by a Renaissance mindset that believed the world was theirs to discover, map, and claim. This opened global trade routes and sparked an era of empire building. In science and technology, Copernicus boldly proposed a heliocentric model, shattering centuries-old beliefs that Earth was the center of the universe. Galileo built telescopes and provided proof, forever changing our relationship with the cosmos. And Da Vinci, with his sketches of early flying machines and robots, was a true visionary centuries ahead of his time. But let's be real, the biggest game changer was the printing press. Invented by Gutenberg, it was the internet of its day. Suddenly, knowledge wasn't locked in dusty monasteries anymore. It could be mass-produced, making books accessible to the masses. This sparked an intellectual revolution, fueled the Protestant Reformation, and forever democratized the flow of information. The Renaissance didn't just end, it evolved. It laid the foundation for everything that followed. It paved the way for the scientific revolution, where figures like Isaac Newton built on earlier ideas and defined the laws of the universe. It provided the intellectual freedom that led to the Enlightenment, giving us concepts like democracy and individual rights. And it directly inspired the Industrial Revolution, bringing us steam engines, factories, and the modern middle class by shifting wealth from land to commerce. This was the birth of modern capitalism. But here's the catch. That same revolutionary energy also lit a darker fire: colonialism and exploitation. Europe, armed with new knowledge and an insatiable hunger for resources, set out across the globe, conquering, colonizing, and exploiting the lands and peoples they encountered. The same spirit of discovery that gave us Galileo also gave us the transatlantic slave trade and the ruthless pursuit of empire. The Renaissance's legacy is powerful and complex. On one hand, it gave us the foundations of the modern West: the scientific method, the celebration of the individual, the drive to explore, and an explosion of cultural and artistic genius. But it also casts a long, undeniable shadow. The nationalism and expansionism it inspired led directly to 2 world wars. The technology it pioneered was used for brutal efficiency and conquest in industry. The hunger for dominance led to the exploitation of entire continents. The Renaissance set Europe ablaze, but it also sowed the seeds for conflicts and injustices that echo to this day. No empire or civilization stays on top forever. From global dominance, Europe was ravaged by 2 world wars, lost its colonial empires, and ceded superpower status to the United States in the 20th century. Today, it faces a new set of complex challenges: economic stagnation, tensions over immigration and identity, divisions within the EU, and the ongoing war in Ukraine. The global stage has never been more competitive, with new powers rising. The Renaissance proved that ideas can outlive kingdoms, that a radical shift in thinking can change the course of human history, and that knowledge can be the most powerful force on Earth, for better or worse. So, here's something to think about. The challenges we face today, from climate change to political polarization, to the rise of new technologies like AI, are just as monumental as those of the past. Could a new Renaissance be what Europe, and maybe the whole world, needs today? And if so, what would it look like? Let us know in the comments below.